Um, this way. Disregard it is. Let's forward a little bit. Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see who's joining us. It's very interesting. It's like a different crowd tonight almost. bunch of the regulars all told me they can't come. This one's this class, this one's that program. You have all of some new people here. So I was just telling Benji a second ago that you can have kept the kosher home for many, many, many years and yet not understand a lot of the logic of why we have separate dishes, et cetera, et cetera. And you also might get nervous when you hear me, Marsha's not here to get nervous with me, when I start telling you that things that we've always been taught that we're not allowed to do are actually biblically not actually forbidden. There's more of the fences that we put around the Torah to prevent us from coming to do things that are really wrong. And knowing the difference, although it's not always practical on a day-to-day basis, but it's very important to know if you ever have a question and you want to go ask the rabbi to know what is a question, what's not a question, etc. Good evening, Adam. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Baruch Hashem. Lindsay's joining you tonight?
She's in the live. She's still sick of the food.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, so we're going to be doing chapter... Where are we here? Chapter number 6. That's where we're holding. And even though really I almost thought we should do a review. You have a book? No, you don't have your book. She has it. Okay. So even though really I feel like we should do a review, almost everyone, but we're going to go further, and you can watch all the classes till now are all recorded. Should we do that? Should we go do a review of the other weeks instead? Go through the questions, see what you guys know? What do you say? I'll ask you guys. Trevor, what? You don't know anything. So you know what? So we're not going to go further then. Instead of that, maybe I'll keep it on the line. You want the book?
Sure.
I have one more book, but don't bend the base. Yeah, let's leave it there on my desk. I have one last book. So here's what we're going to do instead. I'll tell you what. Since a bunch of records are not here, we're going to do a review, and we're going to go through a bunch of till chapter. We'll go outside because I think it'll be very helpful for all of you. Hadassah, I think it'll be a good review for you to test yourself, and also for Adam and Lindsay. I don't know if I can't see who's watching. Okay. If you guys go to the end of chapter 1, which is on page 19. So go to chapter 1, page 19. See page 19? Page 19. Okay. What are the identifying signs of a kosher land animal? C. It must have split hooves and chew its cut. Which of the following aquatic creatures is kosher? Correct. None of the above. On what basis do we determine that a particular bird species is kosher? You say B. Okay. What do you say, Adam? Okay, here are the choices. Do we say today, do we determine that a particular bird species is kosher based on the signs detailed in the Torah, based on the kosher signs recorded in the Mishnah? Do we assume any non-predatory bird is kosher, or only bird species with a Masorah, which means a tradition confirming their kosher status may be consumed? The correct answer is D, that only if there's a Masorah, only if we have a tradition that this is an animal we're allowed to eat. Okay, so let me explain. So here's something good to talk about. We'll see what needs to be clarified. In the Torah, we have a list of non-kosher birds, meaning the Torah is taking for granted that the vast majority of birds are kosher, and the exception to the rule is the specific list of 24 non-kosher birds the Torah mentions. Any other bird besides for those 24 that are written in the Torah is kosher. What's the problem? We don't know what a lot of those birds are. A lot of those birds that are written, we don't know the translation. We're not sure exactly what bird it is. Some books, if you even look today in different English translations of the Bible, you'll see the chapter, which goes through the kosher birds. Different translations have different birds. It's not so clear. And then you have birds that are part of the same family that are different, some that are the same. So eventually, it became accepted by the rabbis that unless we have a tradition that says that this bird is a kosher bird, we don't eat the bird. Okay, it has to be a tradition that it's a kosher bird. Otherwise, we don't. We don't need it. Lindsay, I hope you're following along. You can type your answers on the chat. I'll see what you're typing. I'll see if you're knowing. Okay, you understand? So if we have a tradition, the bird is kosher, we eat it. If not, we don't. Which is why turkey, there's a whole debate amongst the rabbis, because where did turkey come from? America. But the Jews in Europe never ate turkey. And all of a sudden, these American Jews are coming back with, not the Jews, but I'm saying people came to America, coming back with this Indian bird. Is there a tradition that it's kosher? Some rabbis didn't eat it, whatever. We talked about that. Okay. What about non-kosher species? Is there any kosher insect species? No, all insects are forbidden with no exceptions. The Torah provides signs for identifying kosher locust species, and we know which species are kosher, though it's not customary to eat them. Although the Torah describes kosher sign of locusts, we can only rely on an authoritative tradition to verify which locusts are kosher. And since we lack such a tradition today, we do not consume them. Yes, most insects are kosher, and the Torah specifies only the forbidden ones. What do you guys say? Adam says C. Okay.
Yeah, I would say because locust is Torah does mention specifically which insect is kosher.
What do you say, Trevor? No clue. Okay. What do you say, Dasa? C. So that's correct. That generally, insects are forbidden, with the exception of locusts. The Torah does say, you're right, a list of kosher locusts. The problem is, again, we're not sure. We don't have the Masorah, which are kosher or not kosher, and therefore, we avoid them. Although there are Yemenite Jews from Yemen, the Taimani Jews, that do have a tradition of which locusts are kosher, and they can follow their tradition, and they can eat those locusts that they have a tradition is considered kosher. Interestingly enough. Okay, that's fascinating. And now, okay, so we learned about that was the first chapter, it was a kind of introduction chapter. Now let's go to page 42. Page 42. You also see, for those of you new to this book, there's some very good terms to know, like the key terms. You know what? Go back to page. I'll do that. It's fine. Go back to page. We'll do it later. It's fine. What makes meat glatt kosher? What makes meat glatt kosher? Yes. B is the animal lungs were found to be completely smooth and free of adhesions. And Adam agrees, and you guys agree, and that is indeed correct. Okay. Although today we don't only check the line, but that's the main thing. Glatt means smooth in Yiddish. Which of the following is true regarding the prohibition of eating chalev? You know what chalev is? So is it the forbidden fats in all kosher animals, including fowl? It's a sciatic nerve which must be removed. It applies to forbidden fats in domesticated animals such as cows and sheep. It applies to fish, requiring that their fins be removed. What do you say? Chalev is forbidden fat. Fat. But which forbidden fats are forbidden? Is it in all animals? Only in domesticated animals? Adam's looking. He's looking. Okay, you can look. It's okay.
I'm pretty sure it's domesticated, right?
Why? Do you remember the logic why?
Because we created them. We gave them those facts by giving them foods to eat correctly.
No. Chalev is forbidden fat. The Torah says, besides for the sciatic nerve, which is called gid hanosha, which we remove from the...
We're supposed to burn a portion of it.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So you're right. So there's the gid hanosha, which is the sciatic nerve that has to be removed from the hind quarter of the animal, which is why today you won't really find at any kosher restaurant a real legitimate filet mignon, because today to find a rabbi that will remove it, the cost and the effort and the labor is not worth it. But besides that, in domesticated animals that were offered on the altar, sheep, goats, etc., there were fats from that animal that would be burnt as a part of the korban. That's what the Kohen brought on the altar, was the fats of the animal. So therefore, since the fat of the animal was holy to Hashem, we don't eat that fat. Now, it's only certain fats, not any fat on the animal. Of course, you go get a nice piece of, on Shabbos, here on Shabbos, we have navel pastrami with a lot of fat in it. That's why it's so flavorful. But the fats of the stomach, of the kidneys, or the diaphragm, the parts that were offered on the altar, those are forbidden fats, and those have to be removed from the animal. But in a wild animal, like a deer, for example, a deer was never offered on the altar. So you can eat the fats of a deer. Okay. The blood of birds and the blood of animals is forbidden by biblical law, rabbinical law. It's a custom. Number 2 is C. It applies only to forbidden fats in domesticated animals such as cows and sheep. Okay, which blood of birds is blood of birds? Let's ask about the blood of birds. Is the blood of birds forbidden biblically, rabbinically? Okay, what do you guys say? Hadassah, what do you say? You following Adam? So the blood of birds is forbidden biblically. I know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of fish, and you're thinking of the marasayin of the blood in the eggs we talked about. Blood of a chicken is just as forbidden biblically as the blood of a cow. Fish don't have blood. You are allowed to eat the blood of a fish, whatever blood they have. You don't have to salt the fish. But chickens have to be salted, just like steak has to be, or meat has to be salted. When you buy eggs in the store, do they need to be checked for blood spot? And what must one do with an egg that contains a blood spot? So eggs never require checking. And if you find a blood spot, you can eat it. Do we say that eggs should be checked for blood spots? But if you found a blood spot, you just need to remove the blood spot and eat the rest of the egg. If you find the blood spot, the entire egg should be discarded. Or do we say eggs never require checking? An egg containing a blood spot may technically be eaten, but the custom is still to avoid eating blood spots. B? C. And the correct answer is B, actually. B, yes. Only the blood itself has to be removed. Sorry. The entire egg. I see here's C. No, Trevor, you're right. C. The entire egg should be discarded because we're afraid it may have fertilized. Although if you didn't, you just took out the actual blood itself. 1 second.
Just,
The blood spot itself.
yeah.
Eggs today aren't fermented anymore.
It's C. It's C. On the side of the page, on the
It's actually but it's actually B. Look on page 39. Look on page 39. Look right in the middle of this long paragraph. He says accordingly is the last word in the line is accordingly. There's a mistake here. If you look at the last, it says accordingly. The last word on the line. Here, go back even to the line before. The spots today are only rabbinically forbidden due to Maras Ayin. Accordingly, even if one did find a blood spot, it would suffice, according to the letter of the law, to simply remove the blood and the rest of the egg would remain kosher. However, as noted, look at the next paragraph. This is where Trevor is right. The next paragraph on the bottom on page 39. However, as noted, the prevalent custom today is to check even unfertilized eggs. And if a blood spot is found, to discard the entire egg. So that's what Trevor was saying. So really, B and C could be correct because by law, you don't need to remove the entire egg. And if you just remove the blood spot, you can eat the rest of the food. However, the prevalent custom is to remove the entire egg, which is actually not even if you ask me, I'd tell you just remove the blood spot, actually. Don't tell anyone. This particular book, written by this particular author, decided the prevalent custom is to remove the entire egg. I am not sure. Ravit is watching us. Hello, Ravit. We're doing a review, Ravit, because almost everyone in this room is got some new people. And reviewing is good. So, okay, going back to the eggs. The idea of checking eggs for blood today is only rabbinic, not even rabbinic. It's because of Maris Ayin. We're afraid that someone will see you eating an egg. It looks like there's blood in there, even though today commercialized eggs are not fertilized, and they go through what's called candling, where they go through a machine that looks to see if any fertilized eggs, they get taken out. And therefore, really, 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 if you didn't check the egg, it's okay. If someone made eggs, and I should get what I'm saying, because you should check your eggs for blood spots. That's the Jewish custom. But if someone didn't check, and now it got mixed into the batter, someone made brownies, I don't know. And they mixed an egg into the brownie mix, right? They didn't check it. And now it's all mixed in. You don't have to throw the whole brownies because you didn't check the egg. No, because we don't really assume that there's actually blood in eggs today, unless it's organic. If it's an organic egg, then you would have to probably throw it out, because organic eggs have a very high. When we learned this class, Marsha was here and she gets organic eggs. She's like, one every 3 or 4 eggs is organic. It has a blood spot, so she's paying much more for eggs than she's throwing out half of them. But whatever, meaning so organic eggs, you would have to throw it out. But in a regular commercialized egg, they don't allow the eggs to sit long enough to fertilize and to become into actual babies. The moment that they're hatched, they're mass producing them. So they're incubated, whatever. They're not being fertilized. Today we check eggs only because that's what our mothers did, because that's what their mothers did, because that's what their mothers did, and that's the Jewish custom. And Jews follow the Jewish custom, and that's how we do it. But by law, if you didn't check, it'll be okay. If you found the egg had a blood spot, by law, if you just remove the blood spot, it'll be okay. The custom is that we don't eat any of the egg that has a blood spot in it, but that's the custom. Let's leave it at that. Okay? One interesting, if you look at the key terms on page 43, do you remember what the word... So which words are kosher? Everyone wants to know which words are kosher. Which words are kosher? And what do we have a tradition about? Only if we have a tradition. There's websites that will tell you. What does the word treifa mean? Remember treifa?
No, it's like if you ate meat and somebody offer you like something berries that you have to tell you treifa.
The word treif, you're using the word treif in today's context, where treif means not kosher. But the biblical word treifa means that the animal was torn apart. The reason why we check to make sure that the lungs are glatt, that they're smooth, is because if the animal had some kind of a defect where it had been torn and it would have died within 12 months, then that animal, even though it was slaughtered properly, the actual shochet did a good job. But the animal was a dying animal, doesn't make it kosher. That's called a treifa. Okay. And then let's go to page 62. Ready? Now we're going to talk about the mixture of basar and chalav. Basar and chalav means meat and milk. So which of the following will create a biblically forbidden basar b'chalav mixture when cooked with dairy? Goat meat, chicken, dairy meat, all of the above. Biblical. Meaning there's rabbinic meat and milk and there's biblical meat and milk. And Adam says A. Why not chicken?
Chicken back then.
So the verse says you should not cook a kid in its mother's milk. And the fact that it says a kid, meaning a young calf, in its mother's milk means it has to be a domesticated animal, not a bird, not a wild animal. And it has to be something that comes from its mother's milk. So it has to be something, it can't be a bird that has no mother's milk, and not from the wild animals, it's not whatever. So deer meat and chicken meat, chicken is called chicken meat, are both only forbidden with milk rabbinically. Because if you would be allowed to eat deer meat and milk, that confuse someone. That, cow meat you can't eat in deer meat, so it's only rabbinic. Okay, tell me which statement is not true. That you may not sell a cheeseburger to a non-Jew. That you may sell a cooked mixture of chicken and milk to a non-Jew. That you may not feed beef and milk to animals. That it is forbidden to benefit from a cooked mixture of chicken and milk. Which one is not true? Hadassah says B. Hadassah says D. Okay? That it is forbidden to benefit from a cooked mixture of chicken and milk. Okay? What do you say? You agree? So let me clarify. When it says not to cook a kid in its mother's milk, it says it 3 times. Why does it say it 3 times?
Each time it said it had a different meaning.
Correct.
You couldn't cook it in as much milk, you couldn't eat it.
Correct. The first time says you can't cook it means you can't cook them together. Second time is you can't eat them together. The third time is you can't get benefit. You're not allowed to make money or feed your animal from a mixture of meat and milk. However, this prohibition of meat and milk, not getting pleasure from it, is only on biblical meat and milk. So you're not allowed to sell a cheeseburger to a non-Jew because even though you're not eating it, you're getting benefit from it. You can't cook it, even for someone else to eat, and you can't sell it and make money off of it. However, chicken parmesan, is chicken parmesan biblical meat and milk? No, it's only rabbinical meat and milk. And therefore, the rabbis did not extend their meat and milk to also apply even to having benefit and having pleasure from it. Got it?
So because it's not.
They're worried about something called maris ayin. Maris ayin means that if someone's going to see you eating chicken and milk together, what might they think? You're not eating meat and milk. Right? But if someone would see you selling a cheeseburger, eggplant parmesan, a chicken parmesan to a non-Jew, would they think that you're allowed to cook meat and milk for a non-Jew? Like, they start extrapolating from that you own a company, you own McDonald's. It's not a maris ayin issue. This is you own McDonald's. Only for a Jew to own Domino's is a problem, or to own McDonald's is a problem. Why is it a problem? They're selling pepperoni, and actually, pepperoni is not. Pepperoni would actually be okay. Pepperoni and cheese would be okay, and a cheeseburger would not, because it's not a kosher animal. But a cheeseburger, you cannot sell a cheeseburger. Go back, yeah.
You're saying that you can actually sell pepperoni and cheese?
I'm saying that the mixture of pork and cheese is not biblically forbidden, because it has to be a kid in his mother's milk, which is a kosher, domesticated animal. Non-kosher meat, you can't eat it, but the prohibition of meat and milk, of basar v'chalav, doesn't apply to pork and milk. Got that?
This was a hard session for our class. Remember this session?
Yes. Yeah. I think Ben's getting lost because we're jumping all over everywhere.
Oh, I'm just
Soaking it in. Okay, perfect. Okay. Now, do you remember the word fleishik? What's fleishik? Meat. Right, very good. What's milchik? Dairy. And parv is neutral. It's meat-free and dairy-free. So which of the following is not considered fleishik? Steak, chicken fat, a carrot from the chicken soup, or all the above are considered fleishik? All the above. I should have asked, if I was writing, I would have written fish, but okay. Is fish considered fleishik? What do you say, Adasa? Is fish considered fleishik? No. Fish is not fleishik. Okay.
How's the answer is fleishik, no?
What, steak?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so is chicken fat. And so is a carrot that came out of chicken soup. Even though a carrot is a parv item, Once that carrot was cooked in a pot with chicken, it now has absorbed the flavor of chicken. It becomes chicken.
So remember I guess is that?
Okay, no, I said that, I was just reading,
Yeah.
I read it wrong, but yeah,
Okay.
I see what.
Remember I guess, miscommunication we had with your son, this session, we learned it, or it was like a pot, when you cook the pot, the meat pot, you can't use that pot anymore for
24 hours.
24 hours. I think it's like 1 year, then you can use it again for, what was it, dairy items, like you salt it, cure it again, you can kosher.
There's a koshering problem. We haven't gone through any of the laws of koshering pots yet. I don't know if I'm we'll get to koshering when we get to koshering.
I guess my question is, can you cook non-hard items, or I guess hard items in a meat pot?
You can.
Yes. Yes. You cannot eat them with milk, but they don't make you fleischiks. So we talked about this. If you cook carrots in a meat pot, those carrots do not become fleischiks. You can't eat them together with milk at the same time, but right afterwards you can have milk. Okay?
So you're saying you can eat the carrot that's mixed or that's cooked with meat?
Now, if you cooked it in a meat pot, not with meat, a totally clean meat pot that has no meat inside it.
Okay.
You just took the meat pot and you cooked tzimis, which is carrots. After that, if all you had was tzimis and you didn't have any meat, then you could have a dairy dessert. Understand? However, if you ate the carrot from the soup, even though you didn't eat any of the soup, that's it. You're 100% fleischiks and you got to wait. How long do you have to wait? 6 hours. Oh, here we have chapter 4. So we turn to page 80. Page 80. Let me just read all the questions. We're asking questions over here. I have a question about kasha. So Chana, here's a question. I don't know if I should answer this. Chana melted the bit, but rack table made the filling. We turned on the fire, melted butter made the. I don't. What? I'm not understanding the question, Rabbi. I have to read that carefully. We'll look at it afterwards. If someone ate a potato from a meat stew, we'll look at that afterwards. If someone ate a potato from a meat stew, how many hours must pass before they can eat dairy? What did we say? 6 hours. Okay. Now, what if somebody who has eaten meat rice, cooked in a clean milchik pot, does he need to wait? Can someone who's eaten meat eat rice cooked in a clean milchik pot an hour later? Or do you need to wait 6 hours to eat something cooked in a dairy pot? Yes, according to all. So Adam says yes, according to all. If you ate chicken soup and now you want to eat rice cooked in a dairy pot 2 hours later, the answer is, Hadassah, what do you say? What do you say? No, you can't. What do you say? You would say no. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because even though the rice was cooked in a dairy pot, it was a clean dairy pot. There's no dairy in the pot. So therefore, the flavor does not make the rice itself dairy. You can't eat it with meat, but it's not dairy. It's not milchiks. It has to be cooked together with milk to become dairy. Just if the pot was clean, it does not make the rice milchiks. And therefore, after you ate the meat, an hour later, you want to have sushi that was made with milchiks. It was made in the milchik pot, not if it has any milchiks, and obviously you can't eat it.
So I know it's like, because I understand the logic about that, as far as even though there's no milk in it, or even though there's no meat in that pot, whatever's part, does it take on the status of that particular meat or dairy pot?
Say again?
So if you have something that's part in a meat or dairy pot, does it absorb that status?
So it absorbs it a little bit, meaning you can't eat that rice cooked in a milk pot. You can't eat it with chicken. You can't take milk. You can't take rice cooked in a milk pot and put it onto a plate and put chicken on top of it and eat it together. You can't do that. But you cannot eat them together. You can't eat chicken with rice from a dairy pot. But that's not because the rice is milchiks. Because an hour later, you can eat the rice. You're not following. The rice cooked in the pot, okay?
Which part?
The dairy pot, which was clean, had no dairy in it, does not become milchiks itself. In order for the rice itself to have the status of milchiks, it has to be cooked or be absorbed flavor of dairy itself. Has to be cooked with milk or be a milk item. If it was cooked in a clean pot, although it has some level of milchiks and you can't eat it with meat, it itself does not become milchiks. And therefore, if it's not, like, let you know, put it this way. Let's say it came to chicken. It's not basar b'chalav. It's not basar b'chalav. You following or no?
You're saying that,
The food, yeah, let's go find a few insights so you can look on page 74.
Are you worried about the aroma?
The what? The aroma?
Yeah, aroma, remember that the milk stays in the pot for hours, right?
Yeah, but so as I explained a little bit, there's something called nois and tam bar nois and tam. The flavor of the milk went into the pot. Now the pot went into the rice. The rice was permitted. This doesn't get into the logic here, but I'm explaining to the logic. The rice is allowed to absorb dairy flavor. There's no problem with rice absorbing dairy flavor. And therefore, the rice doesn't become strong enough to make, it doesn't become strong enough to make you milchiks. That if you eat it, you're going to be milchiks and you can't eat chicken afterwards. You could eat chicken afterwards.
right.
Because the flavor of milk is number one.
It is, if you had.
I don't have a cup here.
chicken before, you just couldn't eat the rice.
No, it's okay. This is milk, okay? The milk went into my pot, okay? Now the milk went out. I washed the pot. There's no more milk in the pot. But the pot absorbed permitted flavor, okay? So that's now absorption number one. Got it? Now I put rice into the pot. I cook the rice. Did the rice become tray for anything? No. It's the rice now absorbed flavor that was absorbed. So it's already a second level of absorption. Okay, it's two levels now. Right? This was level one. This was the milk. The pot was level one. The rice is level two. Now I took the rice out of the pot. I ate the whatever. I can't put this together with chicken. But I can eat this and not be considered milchiks. So if I ate this and now 5 minutes later I want to eat chicken, I could. Understand? Because I'm person number 3 now. I eat I just swallowed it. Okay? Now that I swallowed it, I'll do a little magic trick. I swallowed it, okay? Now I am absorption number 3. So I don't become like the status of being milchiks that I can't eat fleishiks now. You understand?
So can it be the other way around? Can you eat meat and then still?
Yeah, let's say I ate meat 5 minutes ago, and now I come to class and you gave me this yummy dairy flavored pencil that was cooked in a pot that had milk cooking it the day before. I'm allowed to eat it. Yeah. As long as it's not simultaneously, but it doesn't make, you don't have to wait in between.
The 6 hours doesn't apply.
Yeah, because it's not actually dairy. It only absorbed from a pot that had absorbed. Make sense? Now, what about someone who has eaten dairy and now wishes to eat meat? Must cleanse their mouth by eating a solid par food. Eating a solid par food is known as hadocha, kinuach, hashkacha, or hatzala. Which one do you know? Kinuach. Now, is just kinuach enough? If I eat, our custom is to wait an hour between dairy and eating meat. But those that don't wait an hour, they want to just clean their mouth out, just eating a solid food, is that enough? No, they have to also drink liquid. You need to do both. In between dairy and meat, you need to both eat food and drink, or wait an hour. We wait an hour. We don't do the eating and drinking, but that's technically the way to do it. Okay? Now, if you ate cheese, do you need to wait 6 hours before eating meat?
It's hard there.
Not only mozzarella, it's any aged, what?
Hard cheese.
Any hard cheese which is aged and takes time to digest, you need to wait 6 hours. So Parmesan and Romano and aged cheddar are all aged cheese. Mozzarella is the only one that's not aged that you don't need to wait. So when you don't need to wait for. Everything else you do need to wait for, Adam. Now, we talked about also what happens if the cheese gets melted, though. So let's say you have Parmesan cheese, but it's in lasagna. Do you need to wait 6 hours? Correct. It got melted down. So once it got melted down, it's easier for your stomach to digest, and many rabbis are leading that you don't have to wait 6 hours. What? If it's melted? Between Parmesan cheese and the mozzarella cheese? They're all aged. I'm not an expert on how you make mozzarella cheese, but something like cream cheese or mozzarella cheese, it's like a hard cheese, like regular slices of American cheese. American cheese is basically they took some milk and they whipped it up and whatever, and they made it a solid. It's not like Swiss cheese that's sat and fermented and went through a natural aging process to make it become hard. So if you ate cream cheese or something, or American cheese, which is not an aged cheese, so it can be digested easier, you don't need to wait 6 hours. If you ate an aged cheese, then you need to wait. Meat. That's true with most cheeses, but not all cheeses. Aged cheese, you need to wait 6 hours. And by the way, so we also established that many rabbis are lenient when the aged cheese is cooked. So if you put that cheese into pizza, for example, or into lasagna, or into whatever, into soup, okay? Let's say you have a soup and there's some aged cheese in the soup. In that case, it's okay because it's already been cooked down, it's melted, it's no longer a hard cheese. Waiting for hard cheese, I think, is halacha. It's in halacha. If you look up page 69, it's straight from the Shulchan Aruch, from the Ramah. Some are lenient. Here, look, you see number 3? So the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, which is what Ashkenaz Hall writes, that some authorities are requiring a 6-hour wait between eating hard cheese and meat. Thus, the custom is that after eating hard cheese, one does not even eat poultry. Some are lenient to not wait 6 hours, and one need not object to their conduct. However, we adopt the stricter practice, and waiting 6 hours is preferable. That's what says the Shulchan Aruch. Okay. Let me throw one more thing in there. Remember, what's a davar charif? Remember what a davar charif is? Everything we talked about, spicy. So what about your cooking or your cutting? Talk about the knife also. Oh, maybe it's in the next chapter. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. Yeah. Let me see if it's in the next chapter. 1 second. Or it was over here. Yeah. So if you cut an onion, normally when you cut let's say you cut, okay, let's do this way. If you cut a cucumber with a dairy knife, is the cucumber dairy? Can you eat the cucumber with,
Yeah.
you cut the cucumber, let's do this way. You cut a tomato with a meat knife. Can you put that tomato into a cream cheese sandwich? Tomato.
Yes, you can.
You could.
A tomato, yes, because there's no heat. There's no transfer of flavor from a clean knife. We're talking about a clean meat knife that has, it's clean. So when you cut the tomato with the meat knife, it's the same thing, absorbed flavor. That absorbed flavor, but now it's not transferring that flavor to the. How is a knife transferring flavor from when it absorbed meat yesterday into the tomato today? It's not. It's cold. Before we're talking about cooking, there's heat. When you cut a tomato, the fact that yesterday you used that knife to cut a piece of hot brisket, but then you washed it, so now it's clean. There's no transfer of flavor from the cold knife into the cold tomato. So now you can put that tomato into your cream cheese sandwich. Again, we avoid it. In a proper Jewish kosher kitchen, you have a meat knife and a dairy knife, and you wouldn't cut tomatoes for a cream cheese sandwich with a meat knife. But if it happens, it's okay. Even though obviously better to have separate knives, so you don't have problems. However, what if you get an onion with a meat knife? Can you put the onion into your cream cheese sandwich? No. Same knife, tomato would be okay, the onion would not be okay. You know why? Because the onion has a sharpness that expunges the flavor, and the flavor of meat absorbed in that knife will come out as a result of the spiciness of the onion. And that's true if you're cutting garlic, if you're cutting a lemon, if you're cutting a pineapple, probably anything acidy. So the same question. If you cut watermelon with a dairy knife, and now you want to eat it Shabbos afternoon after you had your cholent, could you eat watermelon cut with a dairy knife? Yeah. Could you eat pineapple cut with a dairy knife? No. Pineapple is spicy. Has a strength to it that will expel the flavor from the knife. Make sense? Okay. Now let's go to page 98. So we talked about a hecker. What's a hecker? Anyone remember what a hecker is? What? Not a hechsher. Hechsher is that it's approved supervision. Hecker, Heker. So we learned the halacha in this last chapter, in the last class. So let's say Benji and Moshe you guys are sitting together on the same table, and you're eating your kosher hamburger, and he's eating his kosher pizza. Is that a problem?
Oh, you need the separation.
I would say, well, obviously not eating off the table, hopefully, but yeah. You say you're not eating off the table. You have a plate, a meat plate, and he has a clean dairy plate. He's eating off of his plate, you're eating off of your plate. There's no transfer of flavor happening whatsoever. Are you allowed to sit next to him and eat your hamburger when he's eating his pizza?
If there's
A placemat. So the answer is if there's a hecker, if there's a separation to remind you not to take a bite out of his pizza while you're eating your hamburger. What's a hecker? A reminder, a separation. Yeah, hecker doesn't mean separation. Hecker means a reminder. Like the word almost like yiskar, right? Yiskar is to remember. So there needs to be something on the table that will remind you that you and him are eating different foods. Could that book sitting there be a hecker? The book that you're looking at right now, could that book be a hecker? Very good. That book could only be a hecker if it's not, wouldn't normally be there. So if you came to class and you're both sharing the book and you're eating hamburger, he's eating pizza, and you're sharing the book, that's not a hecker. But if it's your dinner table and you took the book off the bookshelf and put it on the table to remind you not to eat from his food, then it'll be a hecker. Understand? Has to be something that would not normally be there, being there to remind you not to eat his food. What are some other scenarios where the two of you could eat on the same table and there won't be a problem? Do you remember? How else could they sit on the same table and Benji eat pizza and Moshe eat hamburgers and not have a problem? Not facing. How could the two of you sit at the same table, you eating a burger, he's eating pizza, and you're both allowed to sit there?
So I have a vague memory of this from not tonight to you, where I was sitting at this corner of the table, and the girl across me was sitting at that corner table, and I was eating cheese pizza and she was eating meat. So it was diagonal. But I'm not sure if that's the answer you're looking
But how far apart were you?
for.
Far.
Yeah, it was
So there's one scenario we learned last week is far enough that you can't reach each other. You would have to stand up to go walk over to her plate to go eat something off her plate. Another way to be allowed is if you're both strangers eating separate food. So meaning if you're sitting on an airplane, you're sitting like literally on top of the other guy's lap. Like literally, you have to like be careful not to put your hand into his food. But you wouldn't like sitting next to the guy in your plane. You would just like, hey, let me take some of your like, when you're friends and you're sitting together and you're both eating from, let's say, the soul food or like even your, so then, yeah, you would share. But if someone that you don't know, you wouldn't share with him. Okay. So which of the following is not required for a hecker to be valid? Which is not required? It must be of noticeable height. It must be placed between the individuals at the table. It must be of a flashy color. It must be an item that is ordinarily not on the table, or it must be moved from its usual location. Yeah, it must be of noticeable height. It must be between the two of you, and there must be something that's not ordinarily there. Very good. What is the status of the bread that was sliced during a meat meal? Okay, that's another question for you. Shabbos, cut challah. On the Shabbos table, you cut challah. Cut the whole challah. You only ate 3/4 of the challah. Now you put the rest back into a Ziploc bag. Sunday morning, you want to have a cheese omelet with that challah. Now the challah itself was parv, but it was cut with a meat knife on the meat table where you had cholent yesterday. Well, can't eat it. Forbidden from consumption. It may not be eaten with dairy, but one who eats it does not need to wait 6 hours. It may not be eaten with dairy. One who eats it must wait 6 hours. It remains parv and may be eaten with dairy. Which one do you think? Does eating the bread that was on the meat table, do the meat itself, the bread itself, actually become fleishiks? No. It's like being cooked in the dairy pot almost. Being cooked in the meat pot. Let's just keep it clean. So you can't eat it with the dairy, but it doesn't make you fleishik. So you can eat the bread, and then 10 minutes later you can eat the dairy, but you can't eat them together. But not with the challah together. You can have the bread if you want with a plain omelet, and then afterwards you can have your milk, whatever. You can have a glass of milk, but you can't eat the bread together with the cheese omelet. You can eat it with an omelet, and you can have cheese right afterwards. It won't make you fleishik, but you can't put cheese on the bread that's sat on the fleishik's table. Unless you took the bread away before, you made sure it didn't come into contact. Like sometimes you don't cut the whole challah. You only cut half the challah. Or let's say you're sitting by yourself. You want a whole challah. No, you're not going to eat the whole challah. So to begin with, you only cut half. And the other half never became fleishik. Then it's fine. But if it was sitting cut on the table, cut with a meat knife, then it'll be a problem. Yeah.
So you're saying like if you cut it on the table half, then the other half will be fleshing?
If you made sure the other half stayed away, you made sure it didn't come into contact with the meat, yeah. Okay. What about bread baked from dough kneaded with milk? So you put milk into the dough. Are you allowed to eat that with cold meat? Are you allowed to eat it with only parv or milchik food? It is permitted legally, but we avoid it with customers not to make it. It is forbidden for consumption unless only a small amount was baked or the bread has a unique formula or remind others it cannot be eaten with meat.
You know what I answer this one?
Hmm?
Hannah and Lindsay were talking about this very short there. It's deep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they were talking about that for like 20 minutes.
You are not, the rabbis made a rule that you're not allowed to eat dough mixed with milk. Period. Even for breakfast with your cheese omelet. Why? They're afraid that people wouldn't realize they would eat the bread with meat. Unless you made a very small amount in a way that is noticeable that this is a dairy bread and you would not come to eat it with meat. So, for example, let's say you cooked dough with mozzarella sauce, whatever, pizza sauce and cheese on top. You called it a pizza. You let it eat that dough?
He's after that, right?
No, not only that. If you cook the dough with cheese on top, the form of the bread is very obviously dairy.
Oh, okay.
So you're not going to come by mistake to put meat on top of your pizza. You guys following me? I'll fall asleep. Yes? You're not allowed to cook. The rabbi said you're not allowed to cook dough with dairy because people might eat that bread with meat. Unless either you cooked a very small amount or when you cooked it in the way that it's obvious that there's cheese in here. It's a unique shape where it has dairy on top. So if it's not your regular bread, you won't come to eat it, then it's okay.
So like, that's why we don't see butter rolls.
Yes, generally speaking, you won't find butter or anything dairy. It's not allowed. Unless there's a very obvious, like a cheese Danish, something it's obvious that it's... By the way, pastries is different. Anyway, I take that back. Pastries is eaten as dessert. The rabbi said you can't cook dough with milk, talking about bread. If you want to buy a delicious Danish, you go to Moran's bakery. They have, Danish with milk and stuff. But that's because it's dessert. Okay, can you serve parv ice cream after a fleishik meal? Yes, but and the container does not need to be on the table. You don't need to put a sign says this is, tafudi ice cream. No, since it looks like a dairy food item, so it's marasayan. See, it is technically permitted, though we are stringent to avoid it. Yes, but one must place the container on the table. You say A. Here he says A. Interesting. The halacha really is D. You need to put the container on the table. However, today, we don't do it anymore. So that's why I said A. Because today, it's well known that people have non-dairy options. So in Shulchan Aruch, I'll explain what I just said. In Jewish law, it says that if you're going to cook something with almond milk, meat, with milk, almond milk, you have to put almonds on the dish or on the plate. So people will know that the dairy is not cow milk, it's almond milk. That's what it says in Jewish law. Now today, you go to almost any fleishik event and they're serving ice cream or coffee and creamer or whatever, and there's no almonds or tofu or soybeans or whatever the particular ice cream is made out of. It's made out of soybeans. You don't see soybeans on the, why? Because today it's so widely accessible. You can go to any Publix and buy non-dairy ice cream. It's not like a kosher thing anymore. Today it's accepted. It's normal that you have non-dairy items. And therefore today, if someone sees you eating ice cream after a fleishik meal, they don't think that you're eating meat and milk. They think you're eating tafudi or Soy Delicious or whatever company you're eating. Understand? Okay, it's very good. It's very good. For those of you guys who didn't go to the original, it's also good. We covered a lot of material today. And also be good, everyone that wasn't here will be very appreciative that they didn't miss anything. And next week we'll continue. Next week, actually, no, I take it back. Next week is Hanukkah. So next week there's not going to be a class. There will be a menorah lighting here at 6 o'clock. You're all invited. We're having a big Hanukkah party here in the parking lot at 6 o'clock. Menorah lighting, we'll have fresh latkes, free donuts, music. So you're welcome to join us at 6. But there won't be class on Hanukkah. Yeah, there won't be class. You should be home lighting menorah. And the week after is December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. And as Trevor correctly pointed out before, we will not be learning. It's a Chabad custom. It's a Hasidic custom to not learn Torah that night. So there will not be a class. Okay, it's actually 8 days. New Year's Eve, we can do class. You guys want to do class? I'll post on the chat. Yes? I'll post it before. We'll see what people want to do. Okay? Now let's talk to Ravit. Ravit. Yeah. Yeah, 1 second. So Ravit's asking a question about a non-religious person turning on the fire. but a religious person did most of the work. So if the idea of having a religious person turn on the fire means that they should do something in the preparation. But if they didn't do the fire, but they were the ones that made the batter, they're the ones who put it in, et cetera, it's okay. Anyway, b'diavad, after the fact, although generally speaking, we try to avoid a non-religious person turning on the fire, if it was done after the fact, it doesn't make the food not kosher. Okay, Ravitz? I will see you guys all in a few weeks. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay.